My name is Montgomery, and at 34, I thought I had built a pretty good life as a software engineer. My wife, my kids, my modest home in the suburbs. I never imagined my own sister would be the one to shatter that peace. That devastating phone call 3 days before Christmas still echoes in my mind. Your family is low class, Monty. They're not on my level. Please come alone. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. Before I tell you how I confronted my sister's arrogance, let me know where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you believe family should always come first. Growing up, our family never had much. My dad worked construction, coming home with calloused hands and a tired smile. Mom cleaned houses for the wealthy families across town. We lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment on the east side of the city, the kind of neighborhood people drive through quickly with their doors locked. But despite our financial struggles, there was always love in our home. Sophia came into the world 5 years after me. From the moment she could understand the concept of money, she seemed obsessed with having more of it. While I was content with our secondhand toys and hand-me-down clothes, Sophia would cry when her classmates made fun of her outdated fashion. She would stare at magazines filled with luxury homes and designer clothes, cutting out pictures and creating vision boards of the life she wanted. One day, she would say, taping a photo of a mansion to our shared bedroom wall, "I'm going to live like this." As we grew older, the gap in our perspectives widened. I focused on my studies, determined to build a stable future through hard work. Sophia, meanwhile, became increasingly embarrassed by our parents' occupations and our modest living conditions. She would lie to her friends about where we lived, making up stories about a bigger house in a better neighborhood. When Sophia was accepted to an elite university with a partial scholarship, I knew our parents couldn't afford the remaining tuition. I had just started my career in software development at a promising startup. Without hesitation, I put my own plans on hold. I picked up freelance work on nights and weekends, lived in a tiny studio apartment with a mattress on the floor, and sent nearly half my income to cover Sophia's education expenses. I never told her about these sacrifices. I wanted her to focus on her studies without feeling burdened. Those 4 years were grueling, but I was proud when Sophia graduated with a finance degree. By then, my own career had taken off. The startup I joined had grown exponentially, and my early stock options were worth something. I met Amelia, a kindergarten teacher with a heart of gold, at a mutual friend's birthday party. She laughed at my terrible jokes and didn't mind that I knew more about coding than about fashion or fine dining. We fell in love quickly and were married within a year. Sophia landed a position at a prestigious investment firm where she met James, the son of a wealthy family with connections throughout the finance industry. Their whirlwind romance culminated in an extravagant wedding that I helped pay for, though Sophia told everyone that James's parents covered all expenses. I kept silent, happy to see my sister marrying someone who could give her the lifestyle she had always craved. After the wedding, Sophia's visits to our parents became increasingly rare. When she did visit, the conversation inevitably turned to her luxury vacations, the expensive restaurants she frequented, or the celebrities James knew personally. Mom and Dad listened with pride, believing their daughter had achieved success through her own merit. I never corrected this misconception. What nobody knew, not even Amelia initially, was that Sophia's glamorous lifestyle wasn't entirely funded by her and James's incomes. Behind the scenes, I had been subsidizing my sister's expenditures for years. It started with small things, helping with the down payment on their first condo, covering the cost of a designer handbag she desperately wanted, but couldn't afford. Gradually, these contributions grew larger. I paid for their lavish honeymoon in the Maldives. I covered the catering costs for their housewarming party. I even made several of their car payments when James temporarily lost his job during a company restructuring. I justified these expenses to myself as helping my sister achieve the dreams she had held since childhood. I could afford it, after all. My company had been acquired by a tech giant, leaving me with a substantial nest egg. Amelia and I chose to live modestly, saving for our children's education and our retirement. We had 2 beautiful kids, Noah and Emma, who brought incredible joy to our lives from our comfortable but unassuming home. I believed Sophia would eventually outgrow her materialistic tendencies. I thought once she had achieved the status and lifestyle she craved, she would reconnect with her roots and appreciate our family for who we were, not what we owned or how we appeared to others. I was wrong. So very wrong. The first clear warning sign came when Sophia and James purchased a sprawling mansion in Oakwood Estates, the most exclusive neighborhood in our city. The 5-bedroom, 7-bathroom home sat on 3 acres with a pool, tennis court, and guest house. They invited us to their housewarming party, which doubled as a networking event for James's business associates. Amelia and I dressed in our best clothes, which still paled in comparison to the designer outfits worn by the other guests. We brought Noah, then 6, and Emma, 4, after Sophia assured us other children would be present. Upon arrival, we discovered we were the only guests who had brought children. The moment we stepped through the massive double doors, I sensed Sophia's discomfort. Her smile seemed forced as she introduced us to her friends. "This is my brother Montgomery and his wife Amelia," she said, noticeably omitting our professional backgrounds while she had detailed everyone else's credentials. During the party, Noah accidentally spilled apple juice on the imported silk rug in the living room. The stain was small and barely noticeable, but Sophia's reaction was disproportionate. Her face flushed with anger, and she called for the housekeeper immediately, making a scene that drew everyone's attention. "Children really don't belong in certain spaces," she muttered loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. Amelia's cheeks burned with embarrassment as she took Noah to the bathroom to clean his hands. Later that evening, I overheard James talking to his friends near the bar. "Montgomery lives in Ridgeview," he said with a slight sneer. "You know, that development with the cookie-cutter houses all packed together. His wife works at a daycare or something." "It's an elementary school," I corrected, approaching the group. "Amelia is a kindergarten teacher." An uncomfortable silence followed before one of James's friends asked, "So what firm are you with, Montgomery?" "I'm in tech, not finance," I explained. "I work for Nexus Systems developing cloud security solutions." The man nodded politely but clearly lost interest. James quickly changed the subject, discussing their upcoming ski trip to Aspen. The most painful moment came when one of Sophia's new friends asked about our parents. We were gathered in the expansive kitchen, an architectural showcase of marble and stainless steel. "Are your parents coming tonight?" the woman asked Sophia. "I'd love to meet them." Sophia's expression flickered with something I recognized as shame. "Oh, they couldn't make it. They're traveling." "What do they do?" another guest inquired. Without hesitation, Sophia fabricated an elaborate lie. "Dad was a surgeon before he retired. Mom was a corporate attorney. They're enjoying their retirement now, splitting time between their lake house and traveling abroad." I stood frozen, the champagne flute in my hand, suddenly feeling heavy. Our father, whose hands were permanently roughened by decades of construction work, transformed in Sophia's fiction into a surgeon with delicate, skilled fingers. Our mother, who had cleaned the homes of people exactly like these guests, reimagined as a powerful attorney. I caught Sophia's pleading glance, silently begging me not to contradict her story. I remained silent, swallowing my hurt and disappointment. This wasn't the place for a confrontation. These weren't people who would understand or appreciate the dignity in our parents' honest labor. So I nodded along, becoming complicit in my sister's deception. On the drive home, after both kids had fallen asleep in their car seats, Amelia finally voiced what I had been thinking. "Did you notice how Sophia acted like she was embarrassed by us?" she asked quietly. She barely spoke to the children, and when she did, it felt condescending. "She's just trying to impress her new friends," I said, though the excuse sounded hollow even to my own ears. "No," Amelia said firmly. "There's a difference between wanting to impress people and being ashamed of your family." Tonight felt like the latter. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, knowing Amelia was right, but not ready to admit how much my sister had changed, or perhaps how much she had finally revealed who she truly was. Over the next year, Sophia's distance from our family grew from a gap into a chasm. She missed our father's 60th birthday celebration claiming a last-minute business trip. She was notably absent from Emma's dance recital, despite promising to attend. Phone calls with our parents became shorter and less frequent. When I called to check in, she always seemed to be rushing off to some event or appointment. I might have continued to make excuses for her behavior indefinitely, if not for a chance encounter at Westfield Mall 3 months before Christmas. I had taken the day off work to finish some holiday shopping when I spotted Sophia emerging from Gucci with several shopping bags. She hadn't seen me yet, so I watched as she proceeded to Tiffany & Company, then to Louis Vuitton, adding more packages to her collection with each stop. "Quite the shopping spree," I commented, finally approaching her outside the luxury department store where she was examining a display of $1,000 shoes. Sophia jumped, nearly dropping her phone. "Montgomery, what are you doing here?" "Christmas shopping, like everyone else," I said, "though my budget is a bit more Target than Tiffany's." Her laugh was nervous. "Just picking up a few things for the holiday party we're hosting." I nodded toward the bags. "Must be some party." Sophia glanced around as if worried someone might overhear us, then lowered her voice. "Can we grab coffee? I need to talk to you about something." 30 minutes later, in a quiet corner of an upscale cafe, my sister revealed the truth. The shopping wasn't for a party. It was her coping mechanism for the stress she was under. James's family investment firm had taken some losses, and they'd had to temporarily reduce their spending. But Sophia couldn't bear to downgrade her lifestyle or disappoint her social circle. "I've got $50,000 in credit card debt that James doesn't know about," she confessed, tears threatening to spill from her carefully made-up eyes. "If he finds out, he'll be furious. His family is very strict about financial responsibility." $50,000? I repeated, stunned by the figure. "Sophia, that's more than most people make in a year." "I know it sounds bad," she said, dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. "But I can't let people see that we're struggling. Perception is everything in our circle." I took a deep breath. "What are you asking me for, exactly?" "I need a loan," she said. "Just until James's firm recovers. I'll pay you back, I promise." Part of me wanted to refuse. This wasn't an investment in her education or future. This was enabling a destructive pattern. But she was still my little sister, the girl I'd sworn to protect. "I'll help you," I said finally, "but on one condition. You need to start living within your means, Sophia. No more secret shopping sprees." She agreed readily, relief washing over her face. I transferred the money the next day, telling Amelia it was an investment in a friend's startup. Another lie to protect Sophia's facade. I was becoming as skilled at deception as she was. 2 weeks before Christmas, I received a call from my mother. Her voice was thick with tears. "Mom, what's wrong?" I asked, immediately concerned. "It's nothing serious," she said unconvincingly. "It's just. Sophia called about Christmas. She and James are hosting a dinner at their home, but they only invited you, not me and your father. She said it's a small gathering, just for close friends." My blood boiled. After everything our parents had sacrificed, after the recent financial help I'd given her, Sophia was excluding our parents from Christmas dinner? I called her immediately. The conversation started civilly enough, with me explaining that Mom was upset about the Christmas arrangements. "It's not personal," Sophia insisted. "James's business partners will be there. It's really more of a networking event than a family gathering." "Christmas is for family," I said firmly. "Mom and Dad raised us to believe that." "You don't understand the pressure I'm under," she snapped. "James's family has certain expectations. His friends are very particular about the guest list." "Particular? What does that mean?" There was a pause before Sophia sighed. "Look, I'll talk to James. Maybe we can invite Mom and Dad too. And your family, of course." I hung up feeling uneasy but hopeful that Sophia would do the right thing. A week later, formal invitations arrived for my parents, Amelia, the kids, and me. Mom called, elated that we would all be together for the holiday. I wanted to believe Sophia had had a change of heart, that the sister I grew up with was still in there somewhere beneath the designer clothes and social climbing. I should have known better. 3 days before Christmas, My phone rang while I was wrapping presents in our bedroom. Sophia's name flashed on the screen. "Hey, just checking if you're all set for Christmas dinner," I said, balancing the phone between my ear and shoulder as I struggled with a particularly awkward toy package. "About that," Sophia began, her voice tense. "I need to ask you a favor, Montgomery." "Sure. What do you need? Want us to bring something? Wine? Dessert?" "Actually, I need you to come alone." The scissors in my hand stopped mid-cut. "What do you mean, alone?" "Without Amelia and the kids," she clarified, as if I might not have understood. "But you sent us all invitations," I said, confused, and beginning to feel angry. "Mom was so happy we'd all be together." "Mom and Dad can still come," she said quickly. "It's just, James's partners from the London office will be there with their wives. These are very sophisticated people, Montgomery. They have certain expectations about the kind of gathering this will be." I stood up, no longer pretending to focus on gift wrapping. "What exactly are you trying to say, Sophia?" She sighed, as if I were being deliberately obtuse. "Your family is low class, Monty. They're not on my level. Amelia would be uncomfortable, and the children, well, children don't belong at an adult dinner party." The blood rushed to my face. Low class? My family? Amelia has a master's degree in education. She shapes young minds every day. And our children are well behaved, which is more than I can say for some adults I know. "Don't take it personally," Sophia said, her voice taking on the condescending tone I'd heard her use with service staff. "It's just that your lifestyle choices are different from ours. You chose to marry a teacher and live in a modest neighborhood. That's fine for you, but it doesn't fit with the image James and I need to project." "Image? Is that what Christmas is about to you now? Projecting an image? You don't understand the world I live in," she countered. "Every social interaction is an opportunity for James to strengthen business relationships. These people judge us by the company we keep." I thought about all the times I had supported Sophia. The tuition payments, the wedding costs, the recent $50,000 loan that we both knew would never be repaid. I thought about our parents, who had worked themselves to exhaustion to give us opportunities, now deemed insufficient to attend their own daughter's Christmas dinner. "Let me make sure I understand correctly," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "You want me to tell my wife and children they're uninvited to Christmas dinner because they might embarrass you in front of your rich friends?" "When you put it like that, it sounds terrible," Sophia complained. "Because it is terrible," I snapped. "It's disgusting, actually. Do Mom and Dad know you think they're embarrassing too? Or were you planning to seat them in the kitchen with the catering staff?" "Now you're just being dramatic," she said. "Look, I need you there because you can talk about your tech job. That's interesting to these people. But Amelia and the kids, they just don't fit the vibe we're going for." In that moment, something broke inside me. The protective bubble of excuses I had built around Sophia's behavior for years finally burst. I saw her clearly for perhaps the first time since she was a child cutting pictures from magazines. My sister had become exactly the kind of shallow, materialistic person our parents had taught us not to be. "We'll be there," I said finally, "all four of us, and we'll be dressed in our Sunday best. If that's not good enough for you and your friends, that's your problem, not ours." "Montgomery, please," Sophia began, but I cut her off. "Either we all come, or none of us do. That includes Mom and Dad. Your choice." There was a long silence before Sophia spoke again. "Fine, bring them. But don't say I didn't warn you if it's uncomfortable." After hanging up, I sat on the edge of the bed, phone still in hand, shaking with rage and disappointment. Amelia found me there minutes later. "What's wrong?" she asked, sitting beside me. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I recounted the conversation with Sophia, watching Amelia's expression shift from concern to disbelief to anger. "We're not going," she said firmly when I finished. "I won't subject our children to someone who thinks they're not good enough." "We have to go," I insisted, but not for Sophia's sake, for my parents. And because I think it's time my sister learned a valuable lesson about family and where her money really comes from. Amelia's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" That's when I finally told her everything. The tuition payments, the down payment on Sophia's first home, the credit card bills I'd been quietly paying for years, the recent $50,000 loan. She has no idea how much of her lifestyle is funded by the brother she's now embarrassed to be related to, I concluded. Amelia was stunned. All this time, I thought we were saving aggressively for the kids' college funds and our retirement. We are, I assured her. My company stock options were worth more than I ever let on. I could support Sophia and still take care of our future. But why? Amelia asked. Why enable her pretense? I had asked myself the same question many times. Because I wanted her to be happy. I thought eventually she'd outgrow the materialism. That once she had everything she wanted, she'd realize it wasn't what she needed. Amelia took my hand. And now? Now I think it's time for her to learn the difference, I said. I have an idea for Christmas dinner, but I'll need your help. It might get uncomfortable. After what she said about our family? Amelia squeezed my hand. I'm all in. Over the next 2 days, we prepared carefully for Sophia's dinner party. I made several important phone calls, gathering information and documentation. Amelia helped the children select their nicest clothes and practiced their best manners. We wrapped thoughtful, if modest, gifts for everyone, including James's business associates. By Christmas Eve, we were ready. The stage was set for a holiday dinner none of us would ever forget. We arrived at Sophia's mansion 15 minutes after the stated dinner time. It was a strategic decision, allowing all other guests to be present before our entrance. The house was a spectacle of holiday opulence. A 12-foot Fraser fir dominated the grand foyer, decorated with what appeared to be professionally arranged ornaments in silver and blue. Garlands wound up the curved staircase, interspersed with twinkling white lights. The effect was stunning, but sterile, like a department store display rather than a family home. A uniformed server opened the door, taking our coats and directing us toward the sound of conversation and classical music in the main living area. I held Emma's hand while Amelia guided Noah, reminding him in whispers about using his indoor voice. The living room fell momentarily silent as we entered. Sophia, in a red designer dress that probably cost more than our monthly mortgage payment, froze mid-sentence. The champagne flute in her hand tilted dangerously before she recovered, plastering on a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Montgomery, you made it," she exclaimed, moving swiftly toward us as if to prevent our further entry into the room. And everyone came. How wonderful! My parents were already there, seated somewhat awkwardly on the edge of a white sofa that looked like it had never been sat on before. Mom waved, visibly relieved to see familiar faces. Dad stood, coming over to clap me on the shoulder before bending down to greet his grandchildren. "And who do we have here?" boomed a loud voice as a tall, silver-haired man approached. "These must be the little ones Sophia mentioned." James stepped forward, his smile tight. "Montgomery, Amelia, allow me to introduce Harold Blackwell. Harold is the managing partner of our London office." Harold bent slightly to address Noah. "Young man, what do you want Santa to bring you this year?" Noah, usually shy around strangers, answered confidently as we had practiced. "I asked for books about space and a telescope, sir. I want to be an astronomer when I grow up." Harold seemed pleasantly surprised. "An astronomer? Excellent choice. The world needs more scientists." Before the conversation could continue, Sophia intervened. "Let me introduce you to everyone else. The children can play in the, I suppose the study would be appropriate." "There are no other children here," I observed, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "I thought you mentioned there would be." Sophia's smile strained further. A last-minute change in plans. The Hendersons couldn't make it. I knew there had never been any Hendersons with children. It was another of Sophia's convenient fictions. "That's unfortunate," Amelia said, "but I'm sure Noah and Emma will be fine with the adults. They've been looking forward to this all week." For the next hour, we mingled with Sophia's guests. They were primarily James's business associates and their spouses, along with a few neighbors from their exclusive community. The conversation revolved around stock portfolios, recent vacations to exotic locations, and the inadequacies of various luxury services. Can you believe the Four Seasons in Bora Bora doesn't offer helicopter transfers directly to your overwater bungalow? Complained one woman, whose name I had already forgotten. We had to take a boat like everyone else. Honestly, for what they charge, it's unacceptable. Amelia caught my eye across the room, raising an eyebrow slightly. Earlier that year, we had considered a weekend at a modest beach resort, a special splurge for our family. James seemed determined to highlight the disparity between our lifestyles. Montgomery, Sophia tells me you're still in that starter home in Ridgeview. When are you going to upgrade? There's a nice development going in near the country club. Nothing like this neighborhood, of course, but a step up from the suburbs. We're happy where we are, I replied evenly. The school district is excellent, and we have a great community. Yes, but surely with your tech background, you could afford something better, he persisted. What exactly do you do again? Something with computers? I'm a cybersecurity architect, I said. I design systems that protect corporate data from hackers. Fascinating, James said in a tone that suggested it was anything but. And Amelia, you work at a public school, right? That must be rewarding, if not financially lucrative, Amelia smiled. Every day with my kindergartners brings new joy and challenges. I wouldn't trade it for any other career. James nodded dismissively before turning to another guest. Jeffrey here runs a hedge fund that outperformed the market by 20% last quarter. Absolutely brilliant strategy. Meanwhile, Noah and Emma were doing their best to behave, but the environment was hardly child-friendly. There were no activities for them, no accommodations made for their presence. Emma approached a table of elaborate hors d'oeuvres, reaching for a tiny tartlet. Careful with those, Sophia said sharply. They're $20 each from an award-winning patisserie. Emma withdrew her hand as if burned, looking to me with confusion. I nodded reassuringly and helped her select a tartlet, deliberately taking one for myself as well. Delicious, I declared after tasting it. Though Mom's homemade cookies are still my favorite holiday treat. Right, Emma? Emma nodded enthusiastically. Grandma lets us decorate them with sprinkles. Sophia winced at the mention of something as pedestrian as homemade cookies with sprinkles. Dinner was announced at 8 o'clock. We proceeded to the formal dining room, where a table stretching nearly the full length of the room was set with fine china, crystal, and silver. Name cards designated each person's seat. I noticed immediately that my parents were placed at the far end of the table, separated from Sophia and James, who sat at opposite heads. Amelia and I were similarly distanced, with the children situated between us rather than together. The meal was an elaborate 7-course affair. Each plate a work of art featuring tiny portions of exotic ingredients. Noah stared in confusion at a scallop dish with foam and microgreens. "What is it?" he whispered to me. "Just try a bite," I encouraged. "If you don't like it, we can get pizza on the way home." Sophia, overhearing this exchange, shot me a look of pure irritation. Throughout dinner, the conversation continued to revolve around wealth and status. James's colleagues discussed their recent acquisitions, both material and financial. Vacation homes in Aspen and the Hamptons, a rare wine collection, a new yacht, private school acceptances for their children at institutions with 5-figure annual tuitions. My parents contributed little, clearly uncomfortable in this setting. Dad attempted to join the conversation when someone mentioned golf, as he occasionally played at the public course near their home. "I managed to break 90 last month," he said proudly. "Best game of my life." "Which country club are you a member of?" asked one of James's partners. "Oh, I'm not a member anywhere," Dad explained. "I play at Riverside Municipal." The man's face registered momentary confusion, as if he couldn't conceive of golf being played anywhere but a private club. The most painful moment came when gifts were exchanged. Sophia and James had placed expensive packages at each guest's place setting, containing premium spirits or gourmet food baskets. My parents had brought a handmade quilt that Mom had spent months creating, featuring family photos transferred onto fabric squares. When Sophia unwrapped it, her expression flickered with barely concealed disappointment. "How Crafty, she said. You shouldn't have gone to so much trouble. It was no trouble, Mom said, her voice small. I wanted you to have something to remember family moments. We'll put it in the guest house, James said quickly. It has a more rustic decor that would complement this style. I watched my mother's face fall. Years of effort dismissed as merely rustic and unworthy of their main home. Dad placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, but I could see the hurt in his eyes as well. The breaking point came when Emma, tired after a long evening with no consideration for her 5-year-old schedule, accidentally dropped her fork with a clatter. The sound wasn't particularly loud, but Sophia reacted as if a grenade had exploded. For goodness sake, she hissed. Can't you control your child? And what is she wearing? Is that dress from a department store? Emma's lower lip trembled at the harsh tone. The dress in question was her holiday best, a red velvet number with white trim that she had been so proud to wear. I look like Santa, she had twirled happily before we left home. Now, under Sophia's critical gaze, my daughter's eyes filled with tears. That was it, the final straw. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. The table fell silent, all eyes turning toward me. If I could have everyone's attention, I said, lifting my wine glass, I'd like to propose a toast. Sophia's eyes widened with alarm. This was not on her carefully planned evening agenda. James looked annoyed at the interruption, but the other guests turned toward me with mild curiosity. First, I began, I want to thank my sister Sophia and her husband James for hosting this beautiful Christmas dinner. I gestured around the immaculate dining room. The decorations are stunning, the food exceptional. Everything is absolutely perfect. Sophia relaxed slightly, perhaps thinking I was going to smooth over the awkward moment with Emma and proceed with polite holiday pleasantries. Perfect, I continued, just like the image my sister has worked so hard to create. The successful finance couple in their dream home, hosting lavish parties for their equally successful friends. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. It's exactly the life Sophia always wanted, ever since we were children cutting pictures from magazines in our shared bedroom in the East Side apartment where we grew up. The room grew still. Sophia's complexion paled beneath her perfect makeup. What Montgomery means, she interjected with a nervous laugh, is that we're both so grateful for how far we've come. Oh, I am grateful, I agreed. I'm grateful that my hard work has paid off in ways that allowed me to help others. Like when I paid your college tuition, Sophia. Remember those years? When I took on extra jobs and lived on ramen noodles so you could attend that prestigious university without student loans? James turned to look at his wife, confusion evident on his face. I thought your scholarship covered most of your education. There was no full scholarship, I corrected him. There was a partial scholarship, and there was me, sending half my paycheck every month to cover the difference. Montgomery, this isn't the time, Sophia said through clenched teeth. I think it's exactly the time, I countered. Since we're celebrating family and success, let's be honest about how that success came about. Like the down payment on your first condo. Sophia, the one you told James was from your savings? That was from me. The guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This was not the light dinner conversation they had expected. My parents looked shocked, hearing this information for the first time. Or this house, I continued, warming to my subject now. Did you know, James, that I provided the earnest money to secure it when you were waiting for your trust fund disbursement? $200,000, transferred directly to the real estate company. I have the receipts if you'd like to see them. James stared at Sophia, who seemed to be trying to disappear into her chair. You told me that was from your bonus, he said quietly. And speaking of money, I pressed on. Should we discuss the credit card bills I've been paying for the last 3 years? The ones you hide from James because they fund the designer wardrobe and jewelry that help you fit in with your new social circle? Stop it, Sophia whispered. But the damage was done. Or perhaps the most recent financial assistance, I said, my voice steady. $50,000 to cover secret debts, transferred just 3 months ago. Money that my hardworking low-class family could have used for our own children's future. Harold Blackwell, The London partner who had seemed so dismissive earlier was now watching with undisguised interest. Several of the wives exchanged glances, their earlier snobbery replaced by the delicious scandal unfolding before them. "I don't understand," James said, his face flushed with anger or embarrassment or both. "Sophia, what is he talking about?" "I was going to tell you," Sophia stammered. "It was just temporary help while the firm was restructuring." "The firm is doing fine," James snapped. "We had our best quarter ever. You told me you were cutting back on expenses." I raised my glass higher. "So, I'd like to propose a toast to my sister Sophia, who has created the perfect illusion of success while standing on the financial shoulders of the brother she's now too embarrassed to acknowledge. I toast to my kept sister who thinks she's rich. By the way, I'll stop paying for your luxuries." Cut off. Completely. The silence that followed was absolute. No clink of silverware against china, no murmured conversation. Just the heavy weight of truth finally spoken aloud. Sophia's face crumpled. Tears streaked down her cheeks, carving channels through her flawless makeup. "You're ruining everything," she choked out. "No, Sophia," I corrected gently. "You did that when you called my family low class and tried to uninvite my children from Christmas dinner." James stood abruptly, his napkin falling to the floor. "I think we need to discuss this in private," he said to Sophia. Then, turning to his guests, "Please excuse us for a moment." He practically dragged Sophia from the dining room. Their raised voices could be heard from down the hallway, though the words were indistinct. The remaining guests sat in awkward silence until Harold Blackwell surprisingly raised his own glass. "To honesty," he said. "Refreshing in our circles. Wouldn't you agree?" Several guests nodded, some looking shamefaced. One of the women turned to Amelia. "Your daughter's dress is beautiful," she said kindly. "My granddaughter would love something like that." "Thank you," Amelia replied with dignity. "It's her favorite. She picked it out herself." My parents were still processing everything they had heard. Mom reached across the table to take my hand. "You never told us you were helping Sophia all these years." "I wanted her to succeed," I said simply. "I just never expected success to change her so completely." James returned alone, his expression tight. "I think it's best if we conclude the evening early," he announced. "My wife Island, indisposed." The guests quickly gathered their belongings, making awkward farewells. Several nodded to me with something like respect as they passed. One of James's partners handed me a business card. "We could use someone with your financial acumen and integrity," he murmured. "Call me after the holidays." As we prepared to leave, I sought out Sophia. I found her in the master bathroom, sitting on the edge of the marble tub, her perfect image now in ruins. Mascara streaked her face, and her carefully styled hair had come undone. "Why did you do that to me?" she asked, her voice raw. "In front of everyone who matters?" "That's the problem, Sophia," I said quietly. "Those people don't matter. Not compared to family. Not compared to the people who have loved you your whole life. Not for what you own or where you live, but for who you are." "James is furious," she said. "He had no idea about the money, about any of it." "Maybe now you can build an honest relationship," I suggested. "One based on reality, not appearances." "You've destroyed everything I've worked for," she said bitterly. "No," I corrected her. "I've given you a chance to rebuild something authentic, something that can actually last." I left her there, rejoining my family in the foyer. Noah and Emma were bundled up in their winter coats, tired but relieved to be heading home. My parents stood nearby, still processing the evening's revelations. "Ready to go?" I asked, taking Amelia's hand. As we walked to our cars, Harold Blackwell approached one last time. "Your sister has a lot to learn," he said. "But then, so did I at her age. Pride and pretense nearly cost me my family too." He shook my hand firmly. "Merry Christmas to you, and your not at all low-class family." We drove home in reflective silence, the elaborate mansion receding in our rear-view mirror like a mirage dissolving in the cold winter night. The days following Christmas were eerily quiet. No calls from Sophia, no text messages, no communication at all. I wondered if my sister would ever speak to me again, if my actions had permanently severed our relationship. Part of me regretted the public nature of my revelation, but another part knew it had been necessary. The truth, however painful, needed to be spoken. On New Year's Eve, my phone finally rang with Sophia's number. I stepped away from our family game night to answer. "Montgomery?" Her voice was small, lacking its usual confidence. "Can we talk?" "Of course," I said. "I'm listening." "James left," she said, and I could hear the tears in her voice. "He went to stay with his parents. He says he needs time to think about whether he can trust me again." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, I never wanted my sister to suffer. "He found the credit card statements," she continued. "All of them. It's worse than even you knew. I'm over 100,000 in debt. Not just 50. I sighed, leaning against the wall of our hallway. "Sophia." "I know," she cut in. "I know it's my fault. I got caught up in it all. The lifestyle, the friends, the status. It felt like if I could just look the part, eventually I'd truly belong." "Did it work?" I asked gently. "Did you ever feel like you belonged?" There was a long pause before she answered. "No. I was always terrified they'd discover I was an imposter, that I wasn't really one of them. So you kept spending more, trying to convince them, and yourself." "Yes," she admitted. "And now I've lost everything. James, my reputation, my home probably. He says if we divorce, I'll get nothing because of the prenup I signed." "What do you need from me?" I asked, already knowing what was coming. "I hate to ask after everything, but could you help me one more time? Just until I get back on my feet?" I closed my eyes, thinking of all the years I'd enabled her behavior. The money that could have gone to my own children's future, to my parents' retirement comfort, to countless better uses. "No," I said finally. "I can't give you more money, Sophia. That's not what you need right now." Her sob was audible through the phone. "Then what am I supposed to do? I have nowhere to go." "That's not true," I corrected her. "You have options. You can stay with Mom and Dad until you find an affordable apartment. You can look for a job that uses your finance degree. You can sell the designer clothes and jewelry to pay down your debt. You can start living an authentic life instead of a performative one." "Living like a normal person, you mean?" she said bitterly. "Living like someone who values what matters," I countered. "Family, honesty, hard work, all the things our parents taught us that you seem to forget." The line went quiet for so long, I thought she might have hung up. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she asked, "Will you help me figure it out? Not with money, but I don't even know where to start." For the first time in our conversation, I felt a glimmer of hope. "Yes," I said. "I'll help you. We all will." In the weeks that followed, Sophia began the difficult process of dismantling the false life she had constructed. James filed for separation, though they agreed to try counseling before proceeding with divorce. The mansion was put on the market, and Sophia moved temporarily into our parents' spare bedroom, the same room she had shared with me as a child. I helped her create a realistic budget and a plan to address her massive debt. She took a job at a local bank, a significant step down from her previous position, but one that came with steady income and no pretense. She sold most of her designer items, keeping only a few pieces that held genuine sentimental value. The transformation wasn't immediate or easy. There were days when Sophia raged against her new circumstances, when the humiliation of her downfall felt unbearable. There were tearful phone calls and moments of despair. But there were also signs of the sister I remembered, glimpses of the person beneath the facade she had maintained for so long. 3 months after Christmas, Sophia found a modest one-bedroom apartment she could afford on her new salary. Our parents helped her move in, and Amelia organized a small housewarming gathering with simple homemade food and heartfelt gifts. Emma drew a picture of Sophia's new place, proudly presenting it to her aunt who, to my surprise, knelt down and hugged my daughter with genuine affection. "I'm sorry I was mean about your pretty dress," she whispered to Emma. "You looked beautiful in it." By summer, Sophia and James had reached a settlement. Their marriage was over, but they parted with less acrimony than might have been expected. James even acknowledged his own role in enabling Sophia's materialism and status-seeking. "We brought out the worst in each other," he told me when we met to finalize some paperwork. "Maybe now we can both find something more genuine." The real breakthrough came in October, when Sophia volunteered to babysit Noah and Emma so Amelia and I could celebrate our anniversary. I was apprehensive, but Amelia encouraged giving Sophia this chance to rebuild her relationship with our children. When we returned home, we found all three of them on the living room floor, surrounded by construction paper, glitter, and markers. They were making Halloween decorations, laughing together, as if the Christmas disaster had never happened. "We're making monsters," Emma announced excitedly. "Aunt Sophia knows how to make the scariest ones." Sophia looked up, a smudge of glitter on her cheek and a genuine smile on her face. "Hope you don't mind the mess. We got a little carried away." "The mess is fine," I said, surveying the scene with amazement. This was the sister I remembered, the one who used to spend hours crafting with me before designer labels and social climbing became her priority. By the time the next Christmas approached, the transformation was remarkable. Sophia invited all of us to her apartment for a simple holiday dinner. She cooked the entire meal herself, following our mother's recipes. The table was set with mismatched plates she had collected from thrift stores, but the warmth of the gathering made the setting feel more luxurious than any formal dining room. After dinner, she presented each of us with gifts she had made herself, working within the constraints of her new budget. For my parents, a scrapbook documenting our family history. For Amelia, a hand-knitted scarf in her favorite colors. For the children, personalized storybooks featuring them as the main characters. And for me, a framed letter expressing her gratitude and regret, too personal to read aloud. As we sat together in her small living room, the Christmas tree lights casting a warm glow, Sophia cleared her throat nervously. "I want to say something to all of you," she began. "I spent years being ashamed of where I came from, of who we are as a family. I thought success meant expensive things and important connections. I was wrong about everything that matters." She looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "I'm sorry for the hurt I caused, for the lies, the pretense, the rejection. You deserved better from me. You deserved better from me." Mom wiped away tears, and Dad squeezed Sophia's hand. The children, not fully understanding the significance of the moment, continued playing with their new toys nearby. "I'm learning that a meaningful life isn't built on appearances," Sophia continued. "It's built on love, on honesty, on being present for the people who truly care about you. I lost sight of that for a long time, but I'm finding my way back." Later that evening, as we prepared to leave, Sophia pulled me aside for a private word. "Thank you," she said simply, "for the wake-up call I needed, for not giving up on me even when I deserved it." "You're my sister," I replied. "That doesn't change, no matter what." "I know that now," she said, "and I won't forget it again." As we drove home that night, Amelia reached over to take my hand. "You did the right thing last Christmas," she said, as painful as it was in the moment. I nodded, watching the snowflakes begin to fall in the glow of our headlights. Sometimes we have to lose everything to find what really matters. In the back seat, Noah and Emma had fallen asleep, exhausted from the excitement of the day. I glanced at them in the rearview mirror. These children who would grow up understanding that true worth isn't measured in possessions or status. Life isn't about the facade we present to the world. It's about the authentic connections we create, the love we give freely, without expectation of return, the integrity we maintain, even when no one is watching. My sister had to lose her carefully constructed image to find her true self. It was a difficult journey, but a necessary one. And in the end, what appears to be a loss can actually be the greatest gift. Sophia lost her mansion, her marriage, her social standing, but she regained her family, her authenticity, her peace of mind. She found the wealth that matters, the kind that can't be displayed in a showcase home or worn around your neck. The true measure of success isn't what you have, but who you are and how you treat the people who love you. That's the lesson Sophia finally learned, and one I hope we all remember when the trappings of status tempt us to forget what's truly important. Have you ever had to confront a family member who was making destructive choices? How did you balance tough love with compassion? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life lessons. Sometimes the hardest conversations lead to the most beautiful transformations. Thank you for listening to my story, and may your own family find healing and authenticity in the year ahead.